Well, hey, welcome to The Breakdown. I am your host, Jaron Humiston. Joined with me, as always, lead pastor, Calvary Chapel, Lake of the Ozarks, Nick Pierce. See, I feel like that's the normal intro that I have to say. I have heard that for seasons and episodes over and over again. And if you're watching, you know something's up. But if you're only listening, you're like, okay, what's going on here? Well, Jaron has the day off. He's got some personal things he's tending to. He's fine. Everything's good. Just took a personal day. Nothing to worry about. And if you're watching, you're probably thinking, wow, the cast of The Breakdown has gotten so much better looking. And she said no. So joined for the first time, and almost really impromptu, is my wife, Ashley.
Yes.
Welcome to The Breakdown.
Hello.
How long has Jaron tried to get you on The Breakdown?
Since The Breakdown started.
I think from before even episode 1, season 1, he said, everybody would love to see you on The Breakdown. And I think it's hilarious that you're doing it and he's not here to be a part of it.
He doesn't even know it's happening.
He doesn't even know it's happening.
And I don't think we should tell him.
Even better.
I think we should just wait and see if he watches or listens.
All right. Remind me afterwards to tell the whole staff to keep it on the lockdown to see if he listens. I like that.
Yeah.
So normally that's the intro. Jaron does that. We giggle and laugh about something. We'll rabbit trail. But you've been pretty consistent. You're a podcaster, but the audio, you rarely watch this.
Correct. I've watched it a couple times just to see changes that have been made and the new camera angles and
just more the production level.
But otherwise I listen.
Yeah. You're a podcast listener.
I'm a podcast listener.
What's it like listening and then now you're sitting here thinking?
Well, listening causes me much less anxiety, so that's nice. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I think at the end of it.
See, one of the things that she has said to me before is she'll be listening to the podcast and she's like, I love it because I feel like I'm just in a conversation. Yes. But there are times you wish you had like a call-in line.
Yes, I do want to call in or like a red light, green light saying, this may be a little bit of an exaggeration.
I don't think I would ever exaggerate anything.
Sometimes I have also been known to request that on a Sunday morning when I can say, I don't remember it like that.
Now, back in youth ministry,
I would just call you out.
She would just call me out. Or she would sit in the back and she'd point at her watch.
Well, that was to let you know that there were parents waiting for their kids to leave.
No, we know what it meant. I was going long.
I have also been tempted to do that in big church here. However, I am trying to mature in my life.
So Sunday was a little bit different. It feels like there's been a few Sundays that have been just kind of off.
Yes, we are never getting through Genesis.
And that is one of your biggest concerns.
Yes.
You thought the same thing with Revelation.
Revelation, I thought, this is it.
She really thought the Lord was going to come back before we were done with Revelation.
And that would have been okay, I think.
That would have been okay. That would have been a good thing.
Yeah.
But we made it through Revelation.
We did.
We're in Genesis.
Barely. We're getting there.
Don't make my smoker's cough kick up. I really don't have a smoker's cough. It just feels like it. So if I start hacking in a moment, you got to take over. So
okay.
So we're in Genesis. We're getting ready. I think this Sunday will be chapter 6. We will make it through the whole book of Genesis this year.
Okay.
It is planned unless the Lord has something totally off and crazy off the wall. We will get through Genesis. But this last Sunday, obviously the breakdown we break down previous Sunday was Serve Sunday.
Correct.
So we always want to try to be intentional about some of the core main ways of what we would say is discipleship here at Calvary. So we do a lot of life group Sundays. Yep. Every time life groups start up, and we are big proponents. We are big fans of the life group.
Yes.
We led at our previous church, we had this style of life groups, and we led a young professional group.
Yes.
So they weren't college.
No, they were
older.
They weren't even young families.
Yes,
we
correct.
had an amazing, thriving college ministry that Pastor Sean led.
Yep.
And then we had great young family things. But then there was this this gap between there. Yeah. And so we kind of were asked if we would be willing to lead that life group, and it became
and really
incredible.
Shocked that many people jumped on.
And especially we met on Friday nights.
Yeah. And that was strategic.
Yes. And so many of them enjoyed that because if they were at work on a Friday and people were like, oh, do you want to go get a drink tonight or something? They could always say, I have plans.
Yeah.
And so it kicked off their weekend with people.
Yeah. So we loved that. There's still a great group of people that we stay in contact with.
Yes.
Some of you need to call me. It's been a little too long. But
Do you think they're listening?
I know Roundface does.
Boo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to do code names here so nobody knows who we're talking about. So there was two brothers. They were a part of this group. And one we called Roundface and the other one was Longface.
It didn't start like that. We met the first brother first and he's like, that's my brother. And we said, which one? And he's like, he looks just like me, but he has a long face.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
That's how it started.
Wasn't like, okay.
Still Roundface, Longface.
The rabbit trails.
That's how easy the rabbit trails are. So life groups are a big, here at Calvary Chapel, for us at Calvary Chapel, Luke of the Ozarks, life groups are a core ministry. And honestly, for me, when you look at life groups and how we do it, I can't find, and I've yet to find another ministry program, call it what it is, that I think biblically involves what discipleship is. And so, like if you look at Acts 2:42, the apostles, they dedicated themselves to the apostles' teaching, or the disciples dedicated themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Like, that sounds like life group.
Yeah.
You know?
It sounds like a good life group.
It sounds like a good life group. Yeah, there you go. Because like if you're just showing up and you're just eating, you're just hanging out. And there's nothing wrong with hanging out, but that's not really discipleship. Right. And we always want to try to provide a space where on Sunday mornings, like we're listening to what the Lord has for us through worship, through the message, whoever that would be speaking. But what I love about life groups is to try to provide that opportunity for others to say, hey, this is what stood out to me. So one of our favorite questions is, what stood out to you in the sermon? So life groups is a big thing. And so this, when we were getting ready, Ashley was like, what is this going to be like? And I said, just imagine life group. That's all it is.
I still keep contemplating bolting out the door.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It'd be too awkward now.
Well, no, then you would just be like, I don't know.
And there she went. There it is.
It could be edited out, just make it look like I was just here for a portion of the time.
We do some kind of fancy camera trick work to, make it look like you're still here. We could splice it. No. So life groups is key for us. Well, the other thing that is key is to serve faithfully. So if you walk into the hub, there's 3 things on the wall, these like kind of big black banner plaque type looking things, and those really are kind of like our values of a church. We want to serve faithfully, engage fully, and choose together, and everything kind of encompasses in those 3 things. And so serve faithfully, like I fully believe if somebody would attend on a Sunday and be a part of Sunday worship together, if they would be in a life group, and if they would serve in some capacity, like that's not basic elementary discipleship. Like that's full on, you're fully engaged or engaged fully in your walk with the Lord.
And even in the life groups, you still follow that because we encourage life groups to all do a service project.
Yes.
So they're even serving faithfully together.
Yes, exactly. And that's the other key part is one of the things that we love about life groups is the fellowship aspect and being connected. And I think we would both agree, and if I'm speaking for you, just be like, hey, shut up. I think one of the biggest needs in the church is people that feel disconnected. Yeah, the biggest need is they want to feel connected.
Yes, I agree.
Because they feel disconnected.
Agree.
And we're really quick to do programs where sometimes people just want to get coffee together and talk, or they just want to get dinner or half apps or whatever,
Right, like you just want to do life together.
You
don't necessarily need something where you have to get dressed and ready and go to this thing. Like you just want somebody who's going to be real with you in whatever space that you're in.
Yeah. Can I wear my comfy clothes?
Yes.
And can we talk about real things?
Right.
And because sometimes like we feel like we have to put the mask on and we're too blessed to be depressed. And how could life ever be difficult? And the pressure of that's why we call it life groups.
Because you can take the masks off in a safe space. Because
we want to do life together where it's not a Bible study group, but we do want to talk about the Lord. We want to talk about the Word because that is a part of our lives, but that's not, there's other things that are happening in our life that are just as impactful, and they're spiritual things, even though it might not be to the sermon or the life group question. So And so life groups are big, and then serving on a team. Teams being on that team also provides another circle, because you might be serving on a team that you necessarily don't do life group with.
Correct.
And so there's another sphere of people. So let it be, maybe you're on the prayer team, kids ministry team, even the cafe, you're an usher. Here's another group of people that you kind of get to do life with a little bit. You get to serve together.
Yep.
But here's another sphere of individuals that love the Lord, that are serving together. And that's just another area that we get to disciple, to do life with,
right.
to
be
grow.
Connected.
Yeah, to be connected.
Lean on,
Absolutely.
carry their burdens.
Oh, yeah. And we've seen so many, because some are like just on teams and they're not in a life group, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
I think at that point we would say, hey, your next step's a life group. But they have, at least those people on the team, they know, like, if something's going on in life,
Yep.
we've seen them reach out and say, hey, can you guys be praying?
And even on a Sunday, like there have been Sundays, I serve in Cal Kids, and there have been Sundays where I'm just having a really rough Sunday. And just to have the Cal Kids team around me, see me, hug me, love me,
Yeah.
like in the midst of that. And if I didn't serve on the Cal Kids team,
wouldn't
I
have
would have missed out on all of those people. And I wouldn't have just missed out on that. But then you rob other people the blessing of being there and supporting each other.
Yes, exactly. Because it's not about just, do I have people, but am I people's people?
Right.
Like,
Right.
am I there for others, not just are others there for me? And so life groups provide that with a certain kind of focus, and then serving on a team provides that with a focus.
Also, I think that's another way that people should be encouraged to be real.
Yes.
To be real and to be transparent. Because if you are not, you really do rob people around you to use gifts that God may have given them for that day. If everybody walked around perfect all the time, then nobody would ever be able to show compassion and empathy. Like they just, so that's
100%.
completely different from serve, but like
No, it's there because there's only so many serving opportunities in the church, where somebody might have the gift of empathy and like encouragement, where we might not have this like formal counseling program, but hey, this person's on the Cal Kids team or the prayer team, and they thrive when they see other people that they get to lift up and pray for, and to be the person that they can lean on. Well, that's really not a set ministry, but serving on a team puts them in a more sphere to be that for others.
Right.
So that's the other part too, where I think sometimes we get really focused on the role and the responsibility, and sometimes we can maybe lose focus of some of those other finer virtues of serving, of just praying and being with.
Because the cafe team is not just making sure the donuts and the coffee are there. That is a huge part of it.
Huge part.
And if the donuts aren't there, people notice.
Oh, yeah. Or if the coffee runs out, we hear about it.
Yes. But if you get used to seeing somebody in there regularly, then they can become more like a safe place to you. So if you are having a rough day and they're like, hey, how's your week gone? Instead of it just being somebody that you're passing, like, no, this is a safe person that I've seen multiple times in here. I can be real with this person.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be like all the way real right in the middle of the cafe, but this is somebody I could tuck aside with and just ask for prayer.
And if anything, it could be at least a starting point where it's like you've talked a little bit and it's like, hey, let's get lunch after church, or like, hey, could I talk with you about something? I'm just going through some stuff, and it just but it provides a point of contact.
Right.
And so serving on teams because one of the things I was talking about, I think Sunday morning or even at team night that evening, and we'll jump into that in a bit, is the end goal isn't about serving inside the walls. Right. That's just a training ground where we can hopefully pick up these habits of putting ourselves last, others first. We're serving the Lord, but it happens if we use inside the walls as the training ground, that we would be that outside of the walls. Because that's where we're called to be the lights.
Correct.
So,
and also it's a safe place to try it. Like our kids have 3 of our 4 kids all serve.
Yes.
They're all at team night as team members. Yep. Which is really cool as a mom, to say, oh yeah, actually, and the only reason the 4th, I can't speak for you.
I know.
Our 4th doesn't because she's 9 and she's just, but I have no doubt that she will when it's time. But anyway, for them to no, like this is a safe place for you to do this.
Yep.
Like this is where you should be making mistakes. This is where you should be falling over. Like let the church be your training wheels to help protect you from the crashing and burning before you are out in the world serving, because it is not always received the same out in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. That's like a great analogy, or like just, I don't know, a great reminder. That's what word I was looking for, because for us inside the body, we want to be able to provide that where nobody has it all figured out.
Correct.
I mean, even me coming down to Calvary, like I had never been a senior pastor before.
I know.
You didn't know that? Like I was just thinking you maybe didn't know that. But for them, like they really did, to a degree, take a shot. You know, like there was evidence to think, okay, maybe he'll be okay at this. But there was a little bit of growing, or a lot of bit of growing, and there still is for me in my role.
Right.
I don't have it all figured out.
They allow young eagles to soar.
Yes, we are big proponents of young eagles soaring. And what you have to be okay with is sometimes they'll crash, or they'll knock things over, or whatever.
Or they completely destroy your car.
Or they completely destroy my car. What are you talking about?
Eagles, I mean, they're birds, right? So they don't have bathroom breaks.
Oh.
Do eagles, are they like normal birds?
Yeah. Does an eagle poop in the woods, or does a bear?
A bear poops in the woods. I think an eagle poops in the sky.
All right, producer, can you Google that? Like, what volumetric are we looking at? Like, how would I go out and be like, that's an eagle that just blasted my car?
That's what I'm saying. They're just messy. Sometimes eagles are messy. They can soar and they're beautiful, but they can be messy
They can be messy. Absolutely. Yeah, because like a robin flying over your car, there's a little spot. I feel like an eagle, they're big.
They are huge.
We see a lot of bald eagles down here too.
I know, which is different from home.
Yeah, there was never much, but yeah, down here I feel like that's like a softball size of.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, young eagles, we want them to soar, but you have to be okay. I mean, isn't there a Bible verse that talks about you got to let the ox eat while he's treading, but also like if you want nice clean stalls, that means that there's no ox in there. Right. Like if you want ministry to be smooth and great and easy and there's no crap about it, then you actually are not in ministry because you don't have people.
If you want a quiet sanctuary, you'll have a dead sanctuary.
Yes, so good. So Sunday was a focus on Serve Sunday, meaning a focus on serving. And I wanted to speak about it biblically. Then just at the very end, like, hey, here are ways to serve inside the body. Right. And then we invited everybody to team night. So I'm curious, she has her, if you're not watching, you're just listening. My wife has this infamous spiral that she keeps notes in. And
it's how I can stay focused. Otherwise, I get very sidetracked.
Because of the beauty and the handsomeness of the senior pastor.
Because the anxiety screams at me to run. Oh, okay. So I can sit and write to help me stay in place.
I love it. So what, like a life group question that we always ask, what stood out to you in the sermon? What would you go with?
This is my favorite part of it, which is a really weird thing, but the row, row, row your boat. I loved the row, row, row your boat. Really? I really did. I was like,
where is he going with this?
Is this real? Like, was it meant to have a deeper message? Was it like those children's stuffs? Like, you don't know. Some of them are not good. Deeper message or whatever.
Like Ring Around the Rosie?
Right.
That's about the Black Plague.
I know.
Yeah.
So I was like, was this really what row, row, row your boat was? Like, it was just so well. Like, I just loved it.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. Yeah,
that was my. Did you come up with all of those?
Not all of that was original. Some of it was.
It was good.
So I appreciate that.
Whoever did that was good.
I did some of it.
Okay. Well, right? Whoever was the other.
Like a good pastor, you steal 75% of your content. So row your boat. That
was my favorite.
There it is.
I have a lot of notes, but
I think for me, especially when I said row your boat
and not somebody else's.
Yes. And we do that as parents. We do that as spouses.
We do that as siblings.
Yes, we try to row. This is because usually what it is like, I want this person to make this decision, and
because I think I know what's best for them.
Like, and honestly, you might be right.
As a parent, I tried to want to row their boat for them because I feel like I have their best interests at heart.
And you do have their best interests.
And I do, but that doesn't mean that that's what's best for them.
Yeah, true. Or is it that they might not want to go that direction, even though that is right.
Maybe they think I'm an idiot and they should do their own thing.
Wow. I think she's speaking coded here. I don't know if do the kids watch The Breakdown? I mean,
Kaylin does. Kaylin falls asleep to it.
as most people do, even on a Sunday morning, they fall asleep to the sound of my voice.
Kaylin uses it to fall asleep.
Nice. Thank you, Kay. I really appreciate that.
This far into it, she may already be asleep and she's missing out on this. I don't know.
She'll probably listen to the whole thing because you're on it. So, row your boat. What else stood out to you? Anything else?
I like rules. I'm a rule person.
You are a rule person.
And so
let's just be honest. You would love a little bit of a legalism to come back into the
Absolutely.
church.
And I have to regularly remind myself that I would not like that because I would not I need the grace. The grace is what.
Because there's no life in that.
Right.
There was no
I feel
salvation in
I am
the
a
law.
task-oriented person.
Yes, you
Acts
are.
of service is my love language. And so I just feel like legalism. If I could just have these nice check marks to
you would feel
accomplished,
like, call it what it is. Having those, you would feel like, okay, now I'm a good Christian because I've done these 5
like there's
things.
no doubt.
Yeah.
My salvation, there's no doubt at all.
Yeah.
Like blessed assurance rests on these 5 check marks that I need.
But instead, our blessed assurance rests in Jesus.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I know these things. I'm just telling you, sometimes part of me.
I get it. So the rules, where was that coming
at the end, it must have been at the end. You said, obey your master, cooperate with fellow rowers, be committed for life, and give all glory to Jesus.
Yeah.
I like when there's like.
Oh, kind of like, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Like there was kind of like a little bit of a list.
Yes.
Of like, okay, if I can do these things.
If you could wrap up all of the message and you can do these things, there's your passport stamp.
Passport stamp. Are you Adventure Weekend it right there?
No, I was meaning like my passport to heaven, which I know that's not really what it is. So disregard that for anybody who.
Not passport to heaven, but just saying. But in the sanctification process,
yes.
as we're walking and becoming
if
more
I can
and
do
more like
all
Jesus.
of those every day,
then
at the end, it'll be good.
And okay, so let's just go with like obey your master, which every time I hear that, I just keep thinking of Metallica.
You are not me. You are not my master. I mean,
true.
I just needed to make sure we knew that.
Oh, really? All right, open up your Bibles to Ephesians 5 where it says submit. No, yeah, I talked about that too.
You did talk about that.
So let's just talk about obey your master. And obviously what we're talking about is being obedient to Jesus.
Right, and that our life should look different than the world because we are obedient to him.
Absolutely. But sometimes, and I would say not just sometimes, more times than not, each day the Lord has something different for us.
Right, every day.
It doesn't have to look the same.
Yes.
And so some days obeying your master might look like rest.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take a nap, read a book, and just enjoy the life. I'm just throwing random things out there. Do you feel attacked or something?
I do feel attacked. I feel attacked because this is
why?
Because I feel
ready for the logic?
This has turned into our counseling session. This
that's
is like
what-
life group. Our life group always turned into this
Yes.
also. I feel that if you are hard at work to provide for our family, doing what you are called to do,
Yes.
and I have the privilege to be at home with our children,
Amen.
then if you cannot nap during your day, then I should not be able to nap during my day.
This is where I wish we
It
had
was
like a
different
live
when
poll.
they were
like,
babies. When they were little bitty,
'Cause
and
you
they,
would be up
if
all
I was
night.
up
Yep,
at
you
night
would
with
be.
them, then during the day that would make sense. But they are no longer little babies,
No, they're not.
and so I have the option to sleep all night long now. So if I feel tired during the day, then I need to like go for a walk or something.
Suck it up, buttercup.
I need to suck it up
No.
because there's no reason for me to take a nap while you're at work.
So all the ladies that listen or watch The Breakdown, they're going to come up to you Sunday and be like, girl, you need to take a nap. You just rest. You eat bonbons, whatever you want
and
to
everybody else, I will tell anybody else, if you need a nap
That's so true.
or you need a rest, your body is clearly telling you that you need that. So do that.
Yeah.
But
You just don't want to listen to
I just feel like I need to be productive. If you are being productive, I need to be productive.
It's so bad that like if we're at home and I go outside and start working on something, like she'll come out there and start working on it
I
too.
just feel like if you're productive, I need to be productive. We know there's a lot of things wrong up here in my head.
Not at all. I love this. Let's just keep talking. But I think the encouragement is it's okay that every day is going to look different and there's going to be different things. Like they're kind of like what we talked about. Sometimes our next step of obedience, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It's an easy step.
Yep.
It might just be, I'm just doing.
And sometimes it's easy so you can be rested and ready for the heavy part that's coming.
There we go. Because other times your next step of faith, your next step of obedience is really difficult. And it's a pick up your cross, follow me type moment. But what happens when you're not resting in the small steps? Are you ready?
I'm glaring at you right
I know
now. For those people who are only listening.
Yeah. Are you ready though then for the bigger steps? And that's where let him keep your cadence.
Yeah.
There is times he might slow up that cadence.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so something I learned from Pastor Daryl, our previous senior pastor at Grace. We did a couple of hospital visits together, and he would always talk about Psalm 23. Lord is my shepherd.
I remember him doing a whole sermon.
Yeah.
Like whole thing
through it. And he said, the Lord makes me lie down in green pastures. And where somebody going in for surgery, like, okay, you're going to have recovery, like your normal ebb and flow of life just got interrupted.
Right.
Because the Lord, and he would always say it like, the Lord might have something for you that he had to interrupt, or he's going to use this interruption to reveal.
Or you were too stubborn or busy to listen.
Yeah.
To stop on your own.
Because you kept running ahead. All right, I'm going to make you lie down in green pastures then, because you're not resting.
Yep.
And so it's okay.
And I tell people that.
I know. And so now all these people are going to come and tell you to take a nap during the day. But so obey your master.
Cooperate with fellow rowers.
Unity matters.
Unity matters within the church. Darkness hates the light, but light overcomes the darkness.
Amen. Yeah, we can't hide our light under the basket. Why are we so worried about that? So that's good. Anything else that stood out to you in the sermon on serving? If not, I have a question for you.
Oh boy. This is not a Q&R for me.
No. Ooh, look at her using the right terms. Q&R.
I've been around you for a bit.
I know. So it's in line with that. We've done ministry for a while together.
We have.
And this, honestly, like if we were going to be honest,
yes,
this is probably the hardest season for you individually, because all the other years there was kind of a really defined role.
Right. I knew what I was doing, and it was like we did it together.
Yes.
Like nothing happened. I mean, we just did it all together.
Yeah.
We planned every event together.
Because we didn't have like this big youth ministry staff. It was just me and you.
Me and you and volunteers. Our first youth ministry was a volunteer role.
Yep.
And it was me and you and $200 for the year as our budget.
And you're a big advocate. Like, and we're not saying like this, it has to be, but if you have done youth ministry in a volunteer role for an extended period of time, like you can't just say, oh, I volunteered at a youth camp one week.
I do think it looks different than somebody who never has.
Yeah. So if you've done it as a volunteer and you've done it with no budget.
Right.
That really does train you and set you up well.
I agree.
Because then if you can get paid to do it and you have more time to focus on it and you have budget to do other things.
You're not just doing flashy things.
Yes.
Like you are really being intentional and thinking with it. So,
And we struggled that first volunteer time, like, because that was one of the first times we opened up our house.
Yes.
Which then later became just like a staple part of who we were in youth ministry, because we were like, our house is too small. It's not as nice.
It's not very,
And we served, do you remember what we had for dinner?
Yes.
Because I talked about it not too long ago.
Yes, you did. But I was thinking.
Was it not that?
It was hot dogs and mac and cheese, I believe. But there was something else that you said during that I was like, that is not what we did, but I don't remember what it was now. I think we watched Man versus Food.
We watched Man versus Food. It wasn't a movie night.
It was Man versus Food. And I think maybe it was even a hot dog thing. I don't remember. But we watched Man versus Food.
Yeah.
And had hot dogs and mac and cheese.
Yeah. And they loved it.
They did.
And we still talk to those individuals who are, I think all of them are married with kids, and we're old.
We are old.
Speaking of.
Nope.
Okay, never mind.
I was going to make that be a rule for today, but I didn't.
You didn't make it a rule?
I know, I forgot.
What's the rule?
The rule is.
What is the rule?
Today is not to be mentioned.
Today is not to be mentioned.
On the podcast.
Okay. What about today?
Today, the fact that it is my birthday. Not because people think it's because I'm like, don't want to be older. I don't care about the age part.
You really don't.
That part doesn't, whatever.
And you don't even care about, like, Everybody's been asking me, what are you gonna do for a birthday? I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
No, that's the part I don't love about my birthday. I don't love making it a big deal. I don't love...
It's literally any other day for you.
Yes, it is. And so otherwise I feel like it puts weird pressure on
So we're
it.
not going to talk about the fact that today is her birthday.
Right.
And by the time anybody listens to this,
It'll be passed.
it'll already be passed.
Right.
So now
Also,
you'll get,
Facebook tells everybody anyway.
yeah, now you're going to get all the, happy belated birthday. I heard that on the podcast.
Then we'll know who listened.
Yeah.
You guys should do,
What should we do?
what are they called? Like on Jeeps. You know, on
The
Jeeps.
ducks?
No, not the ducks. Like every Jeep has
like a hidden.
like a hidden egg.
Yeah, like an Easter egg.
An Easter egg. Yes, that's what it's called. An
Yeah.
Easter egg. You guys should do Easter eggs in every podcast. And to see who actually, but it doesn't have to be
Listens to the whole-
continuous. It'll just
yeah.
be like some random thing to see who actually listens to it.
So we going back out of the
Sorry.
rabbit hole. No,
Yes,
you're good.
sorry.
Talking about serving. We served in youth ministry together as volunteers
Yes.
at a church called Cornerstone.
Yes.
And then the next big jump was honestly into vocational ministry because I had started Bible college and all that. And
Yes.
after my first year of Bible
Okay.
college, we went to Wisconsin.
Yep.
And then we were doing youth ministry there.
Correct.
From there, we were there a year, went to
Hiawatha.
Hiawatha. Thank you. I was going to say Wathena, but I was
No,
like, nope.
Hiawatha, Kansas,
Yep.
to run their youth center for a parachurch organization living off support.
And that was like a step of faith for you.
I had never even been to Hiawatha when I said yes.
We'd already said yes, we're moving, and we walked into the building and it had orange shag carpet.
And it smelled so bad.
And she looked at me and she said, I love you and I trust you. And walked away.
Yep.
And did a lot of camp ministry that summer, which was
Yep.
great. We
That was
loved
super
that.
awesome.
And then we went to
Grace.
for
Yes.
6-7 years in the youth ministry.
You had to drag me to Grace.
And I had to drag you there because there was a little bit of church hurts.
Yeah, and it was just a really big church, and I've never been a big church person.
Yeah, at all.
So,
And then we're here.
and now here we are.
And here we are. What has been your favorite season? And like, there's no like,
Right.
nobody's gonna get mad that you didn't say Calvary. Like, we already know it's a different role for
Right.
it.
Oh, yeah.
To which, like, word of just so where we're talking about that. Ashley is not a pastor's wife.
Correct.
She's married to a pastor.
Yes, that is right.
Which some would say, if you're married to a pastor, then you are a. But it's the.
I can be Nick's wife.
You can be Nick's wife. You can be
I can be married to a pastor.
married to a
But I
pastor.
do not want the title pastor's wife.
Because it has that connotation, like
Right.
you're doing women's ministry.
Yep,
you're
and I
gonna
don't
lead
do
the
that. I am not a
kids,
teacher
you're-
to grown-ups.
Yeah.
Like,
Your heart really is like we do good. We did well with the young professionals.
yes. And you were there. I don't think I would have done it
Yeah.
on my own. I wouldn't have. I just don't feel comfortable enough teaching grown-ups. Like,
And we lead the college life group,
And I love
all
that.
that's fine. But it's
but again, you do the teaching.
yeah, and so that old school mentality, because sometimes churches did that. They would hire the
Right.
senior pastor and be like, "Oh, we get the wife for free,
Right.
and it's a 2-for-1 deal." And it's like, no, there's no expectations for ministry
Right.
inside the church.
My favorite.
So, what's been your favorite season of serving?
Oh
And I guess honestly, we could even go back before Cornerstone
yes, at our church.
in St.
St.
Joe,
Joe.
Green Valley, because you served in the nursery a little
Yeah,
bit.
I was a nursery coordinator.
And I did upward basketball. That was
Yes.
my first ministry.
That was
kind of
not
role.
my favorite, probably.
Being a nursery coordinator.
Not that I didn't like it, but I don't know. I didn't feel it just wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, it was good for that time.
Your heart really is youth ministry.
I really do love teenagers. I just think they, like, I don't know, they get put down really easily, very quickly.
We've always wanted to be the people that we wish we would have had when we were teenagers.
And I just think there are really great teenagers out there if you give them the chance.
We had one teenager in one of these youth groups, and we
Yes.
won't say which one, to which leadership would have said, somebody needs to clean his clock.
Yeah.
And like fairly unlovable.
Yeah.
Wasn't like the easiest kid to love on.
Yes.
And he knows it.
He does.
So if he listened to this, he would know.
Yes.
But for some reason, like you kind of just went out of your way and saying, all right, like I'm going to treat him with respect, and I'm going to.
I did not treat him with respect.
Well,
actually,
no,
we were very mouthy to each other. That is, I think, how I got to him.
but I think
Yeah.
you had to meet him on his level. He was
Yeah.
super sarcastic and
Yeah.
mouthy. So you went eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth,
Yep.
probably even a little bit more like, Ashley's a South End girl, which some of you don't know what that means, but she can hold her own, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen it.
So I think, I don't know, I want to say Harrisonville was probably my favorite. And I don't know if it was just because it was new and everything was fresh and we had to be so creative. And we really just kind of did whatever.
We kind of did whatever we wanted.
We
did a lot of ultimate Frisbee outside. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And then we loved going places.
Yeah.
We did a few things, like if you remember the old judgment houses.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Scare the hell out of you by making you go into the hell room, right?
Oh my gosh, that was awful. I also loved great. Like I've loved something at each one.
Yeah. Walk through them. So that's Cornerstone. What was your favorite about just being the fresh?
Yeah,
no
I think that was it. I loved it.
like-
I had very little expectations on myself.
Oh, that's good.
It was. We're just kind of, I don't know.
We didn't know what we were doing, so we didn't know what was wrong. But like we did have good leadership.
We
that
did
poured
have
into
great
us.
leadership, and they were so confident in us that I think that was really great.
Great equipping.
Yes. So I don't know.
And
That
so
one was
after Cornerstone,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, what was your favorite with Wisconsin?
Thing I loved in Wisconsin that it was a community-based youth group.
Yeah.
I loved that the goal wasn't to grow the church.
Yeah.
The goal was to equip these kids.
So we didn't even do youth group. It was actually two smaller churches that hired me part-time at each church, and that provided the full-time job. We didn't have youth group in any one of those churches.
And that was so cool. Like
they opened up the community center in one of the small towns that we lived in, and it was a full basketball court with a stage and
everybody in the community took turns bringing snacks and preparing this. And they got so behind it that they decided to build this youth building that you got to help plan, and we weren't even there to enjoy.
I know.
But
it's still
going.
Still called the Well too.
I know. So
which we named it.
That part I really liked in Wisconsin. I also loved the support we had from the school in Wisconsin, even though he was not a believer. The fact that we could use the building and that.
And I love that he had the superintendent or the principal. I think it was superintendent because it was because the whole school was like in one room or one building. He said it's paid by
the
taxpayers. So this is a community building.
Yep.
And it didn't inhibit the education of any kids.
Right.
And even though we were a per se religious organization, I felt like he really kind of weighed it and say what do I want for my students here?
Right. Especially in a small town that doesn't have much to offer.
Yeah. So we had a huge lock-in.
Yep.
And we brought a band in from Nashville. We had 3 gyms. And then we had this one old lady. And I'm forgetting her name because I don't remember her being
I remember the pizzas, but I don't remember
That's
the name.
what it was.
Yeah.
So she rolls up and she's like, hey, I would like to buy some pizzas for your lock-in. And I was like, oh, hey, how sweet. So wonderful. No, she bought 150 frozen pizzas. And the school let us use the concession stand.
Oh.
Yeah, the concession stand, but they had a pizza maker. So we had adults just slinging pizza all night.
That was super cool. So the community support there.
Yeah, that was huge.
That was really cool. There was a lot of growing there too, and a lot of hurt. I feel like that's where there was just some hurt, which comes from that growth too.
Yeah. And I think that's when we really saw the realness of ministry.
Yeah.
And we could have let it get us super jaded where we never would have walked back into ministry.
Right.
But it was we kind of learned no, this is what it is. We need to have a soft heart for students and families and the parents and thick skin.
Yep.
Because as you are ministering to people, you're ministering with people. And just like me and you, we're broken.
Yep.
We're messy. We've been married for so many years, but we still hurt each other's feelings. It happens.
Yep.
But there's nobody else outside of the Lord that I love more. But I'm still a jerk at times. Just put that on a ministry team level. And it's okay. Difficulties of ministry.
Hiawatha was unique because it was we were raising support.
Yeah.
And so that brought out a whole new step of faith, even though all ministry in a way is living off support. No business is writing your paychecks. It is the people who faithfully give. So we are living off support, even though the paycheck may say Calvary.
Yeah.
But just knowing that it was up to us to raise the support and seeing the people get behind us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was really encouraging. Wow, they really all of these people think that we can do it.
We were just talking to your dad about that the other day. We had lunch with him, and it was kind of talking about how the conversation really was, but like, could you imagine what it was like? And what
I asked him if, as your kids get older, do you ever quit worrying about them?
And he said, nope. Especially when they say, hey, we're going to go live off and do this and have people give us money so we can survive. And because that was a little bit of a different concept for him and for you a little bit. Like you hear about people doing that and it's like, oh, that's cool. They can do that. But then when it's like, it's us.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, these are my grandkids. This is my daughter.
So that was pretty interesting, and I don't know, growth there.
Yeah.
And Grace, I don't know, like Grace was good. Like it wasn't perfect.
Really, wasn't it?
But we had
no one place was perfect.
No one place was perfect. But we had so much support from the church.
So much support from the church. That was the first time that I think we really had resources.
We had really great resources
and availability, and
so we got to take the creativity and the excitement and passion we had from doing it as volunteers, but now we have resources to come with it. And
that was crazy because I remember sitting down there and he like pulls up the little spreadsheet and he's like, you think you could do youth ministry with that budget? And I'm just like, what? Are you kidding? Like,
and like I feel like because we were there for a little bit, we really got to like stabilize and build, like work on our foundation, not like our faith foundation, but like our ministry foundation. Like what is important, what matters. Like we really got to pour into that, like going to the conferences and stuff like that.
I say frequently, and I tell the leadership there at Grace, and when I talk to them in different capacities, like, you know, I am the pastor that I am because of my time at Grace and what it poured into me.
And they were so great to me because they were 100% behind us.
Yes.
Which means it was never a big deal that me and the kids came on the trips. It was never a big deal that we were at camp.
And that's where I really had learned, and that verbiage of like, there's no expectation. Like Pastor Daryl looked straight at me and was like, there's no expectation of your wife.
Right.
And knowing that you didn't have that pressure, like you blossomed. You were one of the most involved pastor wives in the whole church. And it was noted. I remember one time he even like dropped it in the middle of a sermon one time. And like, I know you hated that, but it just really not having that weight into saying like, I can step into the gifts that God has for me and where my heart is at for ministry.
Which really I think then has been that's why the transition here was just hard. Because I didn't have that. Like when we first moved down here, I wanted our kids to be able to get plugged in and they wanted to be their own. So I didn't want to like crash youth group and be like, I'm going to be a volunteer. Like I wanted them to have their own space. And I think.
And it was just a different season of life for us too. Where before, like most of the time our kids were younger, it was only towards the end that they were a little bit more involved.
Well, and I think it was just our oldest two that were in youth group. And I think they both said that it would be okay if I did, but I just wanted them to. They already had you here on a Sunday. I wanted them to be able to, I don't know.
Because it would be a little bit different going from I was their youth pastor.
Right. To now you are the lead pastor and I'm crashing their youth group, you know?
And you're the wife married to the pastor.
No, that wouldn't be it. I think it'd be more the crashing the youth group.
But I think other people would try to have that kind of reverence. That's what I'm meaning by that.
And just not let me, So, I don't know. That's why I think this one has been the weirdest. Like, I just don't know like what I do here. If that, I don't know. It's just been different.
It has been different. But I don't think it's been bad because what I have seen from my seats, and because we've had this conversation a few times, like this isn't the first time.
I don't really hide anything. So
not at all. And that's, I think, honestly, number one, that's one of the favorite things that people have is like, there's so many people that have come up to me knowing some of the struggles you have, and the big one that you've already mentioned 2 or 3 times, the anxiety. It's like, I walk around and try to hide it. And it has provided so much courage to other people and so where it's not necessarily a formal ministry, but it's just the relational, which goes back to what we just talked about with Serve Sunday. So you serve in different little areas, but like your service is like, no, I'm just a real person with real struggles, but I'm following a real Savior.
And maybe you think that I do that for other people. I do that because if I try to hide it, it makes it worse. So it is a very selfish reason as to why I do it.
I don't think it is because, again, God causes all things for the good. And so he's using that in you that, like, I can't hide it. I have to be open about that. Where there's times that you feel like that's negative. You hate that.
I do. I wish I could hide it.
You wish you could hide it, but it's good that you can't, because how many people have come up and like, oh, I didn't know you struggle with it. Can we talk sometime?
Yeah, that's true.
You've had that so many times. And so God is using that negative thing that you think is a negative thing, but he's using it for good because so many other people have found freedom.
Yeah. Which I think is how he works in everybody.
100%.
Like all the negative things that not all the things. A lot of negative things that people walk through or have walked through and come out on the other side. You've said it before that God calls you back into that to minister to other people.
Yeah. And so when we walk around with the mask on, like what we're honestly kind of saying is, I don't want to be used by the Lord to help other people with the exact same struggles that I have.
Okay, like, when you say it like that.
When you say it like that, it kind of sucks and it hurts a little bit, but it really is true. Because like we've been open about our story a little bit, and people come up and they're just like, I just like the realness that like they don't look at us and think, oh, there's that perfect couple that gave their lives to the Lord when they were 5 and their life has just been just picture perfect Disney movie.
I know. I should actually bring that up to you on Sunday's sermon.
On Sunday's
sermon.
You
were talking about marriage and how marriage is hard and tough and you should talk people out of it, blah, 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 blah.
Amen.
That's fine. You said after however many years, which I don't know what you said. You said you're not going to get the whatever feeling anymore after all these years, blah,
so
blah,
do you
blah.
wake up in the middle of the night or do you wake up in the morning and look over at me and you have butterflies?
Text you in the middle of service.
Text me, woman.
And
Bring
say,
it on.
My heel still pops for you.
I have never seen your heel pop.
It does because you're looking at me and not at my foot.
We have it. I can't even with her. Producer, a.k.a. our oldest.
Yes.
Have you ever seen your mother's heel pop? You lie like a dog.
For the audience who cannot see producer, he did shake his head yes. I have. It still pops. And so that is my takeaway from Sunday, is that I am more...
But, okay, let's go down this road, talking about marriage.
Well, I think our time is up.
No.
I think we are. Where are we at on this time?
Have you ever just wanted to take your pillow and smother me, though?
Yes, but pregnancy hormones don't count.
No question, woman. I asked a yes or no. Don't you
Any person who has ever dealt with hormones, especially pregnancy hormones, knows that when you hit that point in pregnancy, when you can't sleep and you look over and your husband is fast asleep while you are up for all hours of the night, uncomfortable and awkward, and he's just so comfortable and he's snoring and you just want to smother him with the pillow.
Where's the heel pop there?
I probably shouldn't say this on
Where's the heel pop there? Where's the heel pop there?
Right over your face.
Yeah, right over your face. Okay. Anything else from the sermon? No, I got a couple things I wanted to talk about. You don't have to talk about it. You literally were going to get up and just walk out.
I was like, I'm done.
You can't just be like, it's not like you're dismissed now. So we talked about Serve Sunday, getting involved. Absolutely still encouraging in that. But if you're still curious of like, hey, what is my next step? And does God have a bigger plan than just maybe serving donuts or something? A couple books that I wanted to recommend. First off, Chuck Smith, Calvary Chapel, right? The man God uses. I read this in an airport. We were coming back from Merritt Island on a pastor's conference.
His wife has a really good book for pastors' wives also.
Yeah, and it's called?
The Privilege.
The Privilege by Kay Smith. That's right.
It is very good.
And some people don't know. Like if you watch the Jesus Revolution movie,
yes,
it's
like Noah and his wife.
Kind of. But the movie has Kay almost a little like, they're just people, like, because she's bringing dinner over one night. She was a little hesitant.
Right.
Like the stories I've always heard it was more Kay that was like, you need to go down and reach out to those hippies. And it was Chuck that was a little like, in the movie they portrayed that like, oh, they need a bath. But anyway, so this is a great, easy read, walks through. There's a passage in Acts that it walks through. I'm pulling up.
Oh, sorry, I was looking for the title of it again.
Yeah.
Could it also be the woman God uses?
Yeah, I would still read it.
Okay.
So it talks about, just walking through, the man that God uses in the context of prayer, faith, giving God the glory, his word, persecution. What does it mean to be spirit-filled, born again, the boldness? Like it's really good. So like any person that's thinking about stepping into like vocational ministry or being like a team lead that really wants to lead people, I highly recommend this book. Right. And I know you love the next one.
Yes.
Okay. So
I love Ed Taylor.
Ed Taylor, shout out. He has a great Lead to Serve podcast that I would highly recommend. Yes, it's so good. What?
I just only think maybe I have time for one podcast a week.
No, the Lead to Serve, it's only like a half hour.
No, that may be it.
Oh. Not the breakdown. Woman. Okay. So anyway. I
bet he makes great salsa too.
Dang. That's an inside joke, so we'll just let it stay inside. The other thing I like about these, if you can see, I'm trying to line it up with the camera, that's what I call a man-sized book. They're really thin. And so Ed Taylor wrote a book called Ordinary Servant. It's lessons in loving Jesus and serving his people. This one I have chocked full of just like highlights. And it's short, simple, but it's phenomenal. I think between those two books really capture, and I wrote a couple quotes from them.
Okay. Do you want me to read them?
Oh, do you want to read one?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Ashley's reading the quotes.
If we aren't currently serving, we aren't really living up to the potential that God designed and made us for. It's hard to steer a parked car.
Yeah, so that's, I think, one of the great quotes, because this is what we were created for, and sometimes we'll lose sight of that. We think, oh, it's something I have to do. No, it's something that we get to do, and it's something that we were made to do. So when we don't serve, we're actually operating in contrast, in conflict to our created being, our created order.
And I think a lot of people, once they find out what that is and where they should be serving, when they don't get that opportunity, you can see how it affects their...
Yeah. And the part of like, it's hard to, hard to steer a parked car. Like the first ministry you jump into might not be the one that's like going to bring you the most life. Like you talked about, your first big ministry was a nursery coordinator.
Yes.
And it
was okay.
It was okay, but it got you moving to then that's the key right there. So some people stay parked until they could try to find that one thing. And it's like, no, you can't steer. You got to start going. You got to start moving. Help somewhere. Where's the need? Step into it. Then find where you're calling and what gives you life.
The heart that Jesus is looking for in us is a connected heart that goes out in his strength and wisdom to serve.
Yeah.
Then there's this. Is this with this?
Let me see.
I don't know your formatting.
I know. Oh, yeah. It kind of goes with it. So how we serve directly relates to what's in our hearts. That was one that kind of hit me. The next one I thought was really good.
When there is godly leadership, there is godly submission.
I was thinking about that in marriage, where we talk about, like, again, going back to Ephesians 5, women are to submit, men are to lead, and we focus, I think, sometimes too much on the submission part of women. And it's like, but we'll look at men and say, are you a man that a woman would want to submit to, that's worth being submitted to? So if there's godly leadership, like, then there'll be godly submission, but there can never be godly submission first without godly leadership. And so I think that's just, if any of us are leads or in vocational ministry, on staff, pastors,
or even
team leads, we have to, like, godly leadership matters.
If you want to be really great in God's kingdom, you'll find yourself growing in humility and servanthood.
So when we talk about kingdom before Calvary, that line stood out to me. So if we really want to talk about what does it mean to be great, it's the least, it's the last, and it's for those that are the most oppressed. So that's the podcast with Serve Sunday with special guest Ashley Pierce.
We did it.
Married to the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Lake of the Ozarks. But I really do. Like, I know it was last minute. You were super nervous about it.
Yes, I still am very nervous about it.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. He'll do all the editing and make us sound good, look good, and all that. But thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome.
Happy birthday. I love you.
I love you too.
Anyway, Jaron usually says something about, like, follow us on social media, like and share. Oh, we didn't have any questions that came in, so you didn't have to answer any of those. Darn it. I bet.
Text your questions on Sunday.
I bet if they would have known she was going to be here, they would have blew up the text line. But if you have questions about the sermon or anything else that we could, like, not my favorite color, it's blue, right? Or all I wear is black.
His closet says that it's black.
But if you have questions about the sermon or faith or what does it mean to follow Jesus, we love those kind of questions. And you text The Breakdown, all one word, to 573-679-3760. Ooh, I got the number right. I normally don't say all that. Here we go. So other than that, anything else I'm supposed to say, producer? He's saying, nope, shut it down. We're done.
All
Thanks.
right.
Bye.
See you later.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.